Guys, we've got the NFL draft coming up in a couple weeks. Everything is right in the football and football card world, right? Wrong. Football cards continuing to get clobbered. Hey, buddy. Football card market is what we're going to be talking about today. I've pulled out 5. Actually, I'm lying. I've got 6 cards that I'm going to talk about, and we are going to dive right into it now. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button down below, the big red button. We will continue on with consistent content. We will not let you down, friends. Now to the football card beatings. The GOAT himself, the 2000 Bowman Chrome Tom Brady in a PSA 10. One of the more, I would say, important modern football cards, really, if we're talking about the GOAT of the sport. It's kind of odd to have a GOAT for a particular sport be a modern player, modern card. He just retired. Usually we're talking about old timers that have cards in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. But no, we've got Tom Brady. It's a 2000 Bowman Chrome. This thing, if we go back 2 years, guys, and let me just also preface this. I'm looking at the data going back 2 years. And the reason why I've done this is because prices were really at all-time highs between January, February, March of 2021, maybe like April 1st. But now we've hit April 15th-ish. And we're going to look at April 15th, 2021, where prices had already started to kind of move downward. So these are not kind of percentages coming off the all-time highs. This is where they're already have moved down. So it's another percentage off of where it was. So we're looking at 2 years back on the majority of this data, except for one card, and I will keep on going. Let's keep on going. The Bowman Chrome Brady back in mid-April 2021, about an $18,000 card at that time. Where does this sit now? Under $10,000, under 5 figures, $9,800 a recent sale. That is negative 45% for the greatest football quarterback of all time in the NFL. So probably doesn't mean good things for all the other ones on the list. Am I right? Well, we'll find out. Next up, 2020 Prism Silver, Justin Herbert in a PSA 10. Pick the Prism Silver because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to pick some random parallel. Let's just stick with Silver Prisms. Just makes it a little bit easier to run the data. There's some transactions at least. There's a transaction history. If we go back April 2021, $4,300 card. Now, the other thing I think to notate on some of these newer cards, some of these ultra modern cards, pop reports then versus now, and this is going to be kind of a larger point that I'm making about do not be the first person to buy the PSA 10 when it hits. When it's a pop 5, pop 10 of PSA 10 for an ultra modern card, do not touch it for a card like this for a Prism Silver. Just wait, be patient. $4,300 card April of 2021, April 2023, roughly $1,600 now. Negative 62%. And granted, Justin Herbert kind of had a little bit of a disappointing end to his season last year. Mahomes doing great things, Burrow doing good things, all these other guys kind of doing good things. But Herbert's kind of like the guy that got left out, so his prices have moved downward. And frankly, they were just way too high to begin with. But the next guy was actually in the Super Bowl last year, 2020 Prism Silver, Jalen Hurts, the Philadelphia Eagles PSA 10 quarterback, April 2021, $1,150. Now $785. That's 32% less than before he made his Super Bowl run season. Does that make sense to anybody? For all those that are talking about performance, this and that, and player performance and blah, 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 this guy, literally, his prices were 32% higher before he ever really did anything in the league. Before he made his Super Bowl run, does that make any sense? Anyway, does anything make sense? Negative 32%. So that one didn't quite crack 40%, but close. Next up, 2021 Prism Silver Trey Lance in a PSA 10. Now, this data doesn't go back 2 years because the card isn't 2 years old. It goes back to August 2022. Multiple sales, $1,300 to $1,500, and then this thing falls off a cliff. And what is it? It's exactly what we're talking about. Those PSA 10s hit the market, all the speculators in August getting all excited about their 49ers, got their starting quarterback in Trey Lance. I'm going to get on top of this thing. And August is probably the worst time to get in on this type of card, $1,300 to $1,500 going back August 2022. April 2023, it's roughly a $450 card. As the season started, he got hurt. The thing fell off a cliff. Now, you might argue, well, he got hurt, so that's why it fell off a cliff. I would argue that it probably moves down regardless. Maybe it wouldn't have moved down as far, but still. $450 card now, minus 66%. Guys, be careful with your prospects. And I can hear the comments now. Dustin just cherry-picked some random prospect QBs that we all knew were overpriced. Well, let's go back in time a little bit, friends. 1989 score, Barry Sanders in a PSA 10. I've got this in a 9. I want this card in a 10. When I got back into the hobby in 2018, this was a $400 card all day. I didn't buy it. I'm a moron, and here we are now. If we go back to April 2021, this is not the all-time high. This card went over $2,000 at one point, but April 2021, about $1,600 for this card. In April 2023, now it's sub $1,000. We've got sales at $950, $966. I've heard people in my comment section say if this is, I can't remember who it was, but if this goes at $800, they're a buyer for it. I'm kind of with you. If this thing gets into that $700, $800 range, I'm probably picking one up at the National more than likely if I do see one in that price range. It's starting to get to a nice little point where I would like to get in, but we will see. That's down 40% from 2 years ago. And like I said, this is not coming off of the absolute height. So some might say like, oh yeah, it's 60% off the highs. No. This is another 40% off of it already having dropped. Last but not least, I know what you're thinking. Vintage football has been great. 1976 Topps Walter Payton PSA 10. Not PSA 10, just kidding. PSA 8. I've got this card in a 6. I love this card. This is a very important football card in the grand scheme of things of the football card market. One of the greatest running backs of all time. Some would say Sweetness was the greatest. 76 Topps Walter Payton in a good grade. PSA 8. In April of 2021, got up to $1,775, $1,775. We've got a recent sale, folks, right at about $1,000. Sweetness, one of the greatest running backs, really one of the more important cards. Some would say this is fringe vintage, but I would say this falls right there in the vintage category. It's at 1976 Topps, and it's minus 43% from 2 years ago. And so I'll be honest with you guys, I'm seeing some of these prices. I know a lot for everybody. It's kind of like, am I trying to catch a falling knife? Does it have more to go, or have we kind of hit a bottom? I really am curious to see what a lot of this stuff looks like as we get to the National. It could be a fun buying frenzy. I want to do more of these videos for the purpose of, there's been cards where someone will bring it up to me and like, oh, have you seen the pricing on this, that, or whatever card? And I'm like, yeah, it's just too expensive. And then they tell me the price. I'm like, oh, wow, that's come way down from where I last looked at it. And so what I'm going to do is research these drops and then share it with you all on some of the more important hobby cards. I know some would say Trey Lance might not be an important hobby card, but last August he was a hot prospect. He may very well be again in a few months. We just don't know how it goes. A lot of parity in the NFL. Who's going to start? Brock Purdy still hurt. What's going on? Sam Darnold? Nobody knows. But guys, thank you very much for joining me here today for another card video. We will be back again. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.